In our garden, we have several nest boxes which are regularly used by various bird species, notably great tits, blue tits and nuthatches. A young nuthatch cautiously ventures out of the box on his first step to independence. Tawny owls have nested in the nearby woods for several years, and the young owlets heard in the trees, but the nests were never located. We decided to put up a nest box on a large beech tree in our garden in the hope that we could attract the owls. To keep an eye on activity around the box, we put up a camera to monitor possible interest. Although nothing was seen on the camera, sound recording picked up male and female owl calls very close by. We now know that ideally owl nest boxes should be put up in the autumn, as that is when tawny owls seek out possible nest sites. Unknown to us at the time, the owl had already nested in the adjacent tree and was undoubtedly watching us as we put up the nest box. On the 24th of April, I spotted the tawny owl nest about 40 foot up the tree. Owls do not build their nests. This female had taken over a disused squirrel drey in which to lay her eggs. From later observations, we know that her eggs had hatched about 2 days ago. It is early morning on the 25th of April. The chicks are 3 days old. In fact, owl eggs hatch with an interval so that one chick will be further developed than the next to hatch. This strategy ensures that at least one chick should survive if food is in short supply. Tawny owls normally lay between 2 to 3 eggs, and on average 2 chicks will be reared. She alone has incubated the eggs for 28 days, being fed by the male in the nest. The eggs would have been laid about the 26th of March. The female close broods the chicks, meaning that she will rarely leave the nest at this stage. The mother only leaves the chicks for a very short time and soon returns. While she is settling in, we get our first glimpse of a chick. It is the 29th of April and the chicks are now a week old. The mother is away from the nest for a short while and we can see chicks moving about and flapping their tiny wings. In a hollow tree, the owl family would be protected from the elements, but in an open nest the adult has to tolerate the pouring rain and protect the chicks, which could die if they get wet and chilled. At this stage the female is unlikely to hunt during the day. She calls as the male visits the nest bringing food for their brood. He has brought a mouse, which the female grips tightly in her bill before eventually passing it to one of the chicks. It is the evening of the 1st of May. This is the first proper sight of one of the chicks as the mother grooms him. Owl chicks have their eyes shut until they are 10 to 12 days old. It is about now that the female will leave the nest to hunt at night. She is gone for just under an hour before she returns. The chicks are getting noticeably bigger and more lively. This one has got his eyes partially open and is panting with the warm weather. The male visits the nest with a mouse, and as before the female holds on to it before feeding it to a chick. It is now that we can see that there are two chicks. The mother appears to push one aside to enable the other to feed. It is incredible to watch a small chick struggle to swallow a meal which is almost as large as its own body. Both parents are now actively hunting at night. The chick's calling is just audible for the first time. After 2 hours away from the nest, the female returns at about 10 p.m. and settles down. It is the evening on the 5th of May and the female leaves to hunt. The two chicks are visible. The eldest chick, at 13 days old, has its eyes open. The other's eyes are still closed. This chick is probably 2 days behind its sibling. This is quite a rare moment as both parents arrive at the same time to feed the chicks. They constantly call using a variety of different sounds. The chick squeaking is much stronger now. It is the 6th of May and the eldest owlet is 2 weeks old. The close brooding period is at an end and the owlets are left alone all day. The female will be roosting nearby. After a period of lively activity, the owlets settle down to soak up the early morning sun. Tonight there is a fine view of the supermoon. The owlets are fed regularly with small items of food. These are probably cockchafers, which are abundant at this time of the year. Unfortunately, the youngest owlet has fallen from the nest. At less than 2 weeks old, his chance of survival is not good. Following advice from Owl Rescue, we do not attempt to hand rear the owlet. It is suggested that we construct a surrogate nest to accommodate the owlet so that he is kept safe until the parents return in the evening to feed him. Wearing suitable face protection, in case the adult owl should attack, I attached a platform to the nest tree and placed the owlet within the surrogate nest. The other one's got more wing feathers on it. Sadly, the owlet died before evening. Meanwhile, the remaining owlet is having a staring competition with a grey squirrel, which seems curious about the intruder in its former drey. It is early evening and the owlet is doing a good impersonation of a jack-in-the-box. Again, the adults make regular visits, bringing cockchafers for the owlet. The owlet is 16 days old. He starts his calling just as the sounds of VE Day fireworks echo around the neighbourhood. Despite the noise, the adult maintains the continuous supply of food for the hungry owlet. It is the 11th of May and this is the second day of very high winds and plummeting temperatures. The owlet is kept warm by his downy feathers. Fortunately, there is no rain. If he was to get wet, the cold could well be fatal. He brings up a pellet, which indicates that despite the poor weather, the adults have been still able to find food for him. The wind does not let up through the night. It is the 12th of May and the owlet is 20 days old. During the night, one of his parents has deposited a baby rabbit into the nest, which the owlet is now feasting on. He breaks off a foot and swallows it whole. Come the evening, the owlet is still consuming the rabbit. Despite having been feeding for more than 2 hours, the owlet is still calling and being brought more food by his parents. Interestingly, the adult owl makes both types of call together. Usually the to-wit-to-woo sounds are made by a pair of owls calling and answering. In the past week, the owlet has taken on a much more owl-like appearance. He is now 28 days old. He has been seen tentatively climbing a short way up nearby tree branches, then returning to the nest. Owls hatched in hollow trees or nest boxes will have usually vacated their nest by now, becoming what are known as branchers. These fledglings cannot fly, but are good climbers. Our owlet seems happy where he is. It is midnight and the calls of the adults signal that a meal is coming. They have brought a relatively large bird, a greenfinch it seems, which the owlet is desperately trying to swallow whole. As he wrestles with the greenfinch, the owlet walks gradually backwards towards the edge of the nest. Then catastrophe. He has fallen onto the fence of a disused chicken run, still clutching the greenfinch. I was concerned that he was caught in the netting, but as I approached him, he let go and fell into the chicken run. Here he would be safe from foxes, so we left him there and would check him in the morning. When we checked the chicken run the next morning, the owlet was not there. We found him in one of the trees in the garden about 10 feet up. Incredibly, he had climbed over 2 6-foot chain-link fences before climbing the tree. In the evening he became active and started calling. He soon started moving through the tree branches. We were to become very familiar with this call. Every 2 or 3 seconds throughout the hours of darkness, the owlet emits a loud squeak. He does this even when he's eaten, or even has food in his gullet. The call is a beacon to enable his parents to find him wherever he happens to be in the woodland. We were pleased to see that his calling worked, and his parents did find him and bring him food. The next morning he is out of the tree again and feeding on a bird, a dunnock. He then spent the day safely tucked away in a storage shed, from where in the evening he made his way to the woodland adjacent to our garden, close to the nest tree. It is the 24th of May and the owlet is 32 days old. He has moved away from the nest tree through a dense thicket of small conifers and is perched in an oak tree in the more open woodland. He is being fed cockchafers, commonly known as maybugs. If we look at a map, we can see our garden outlined in red and the position of the nest tree. The open woodland where the owlet is now located is also marked. This area is about 40 metres from the nest and is where the young owl will spend much of his time. Another cockchafer is brought by the adult. The bright zigzag markings of this large beetle are clearly visible. Cockchafers form a large part of the owlet's diet throughout May. This area of the woodland has several large Scots pine trees. These large conifers are generally favoured by roosting owls. This evening there is a welcome change to the menu and a small bird is brought to the owlet. It would appear to be a coal tit. Then it's back to cockchafers. At 36 days old, the owlet is showing his adult primary wing feathers. He is flying further into his parents' territory, although he returns to be nearer the nest tree by midnight. Every night I recorded the location of the owlet between 11 and 12, this being the time when he settled for a while. The map shows each nightly recording. The number alongside each position is the number of days since leaving the nest. The farthest recorded location is 70 metres from the nest. By the early hours of the morning, the owlet would return to a tree bordering our garden, close enough that we could hear him from the house. It is midnight on the 1st of June. The owlet is 40 days old and is calling from a conifer about 60 metres into the woodland. The adult brings a large bird but does not give it to the owlet. A tug of war develops, but the owlet still is not given the bird. It is as if the parent is taunting its offspring, encouraging him to attack his prey. A teaching exercise, in fact. Ultimately, the adult flies off with the bird clutched in its talons. The youngster did not follow while I was watching, but the adult will probably have returned later. Looking again at the map, the nightly sightings during June are marked by red circles, those in July by blue. The owlet has gradually been extending his range, but will not leave his parents' territory until August. The farthest point at which I located him was some 400 metres from the nest tree, and that was on the 4th of July. The last time I saw him was on the 14th of July, and we heard him near our garden at 3 a.m. on the 15th. He was 12 weeks old. After the 15th of July, I did not hear him again. He may have moved to the further limits of the territory, or just become silent, as singletons are reported to do. The parents are likely to have continued to feed him up until late July, when he has to move on. Pairs of tawny owls are fiercely territorial and would not tolerate another owl. Our young owl not only has to learn to find his own food, but also has to find an area where there are no pairs of resident owls. It is reported that as many as 90% of young owls will starve during August and September, often managing to get no further than just beyond the boundary of their own parents' territory. Adult owls live on average for about 5 years, so a vacancy may have occurred. Furthermore, there is a significant area of suitable woodland in our locality. Let's hope that our owlet is among the 10% which reach adulthood.